I paid just under $600 for a 7-night cruise with MSC Cruises, drinks and Wi-Fi included. But here are 7 mistakes that almost ruined it. I'm Gary with Optimal Cruising, bringing you fresh cruise advice, money-saving hacks, and secret strategies the cruise lines don't advertise. Let's get right into it. When I saw this deal, I could not believe it. $595 per person for a 7-night cruise, including drinks and Wi-Fi. Now, this was for a sailing on the MSC Seashore out of Port Canaveral, Florida. But they offer these kinds of deals on most of their sailings out of North America. You can buy the all-inclusive package when you book, and it's going to include drinks and Wi-Fi. But MSC's version of all-inclusive wasn't my version of all-inclusive. And I'm going to tell you why. So let's start with the Wi-Fi. When we first got on board and we signed our devices on to the included Wi-Fi, we quickly found out that the Wi-Fi that was included was basically just a minimum bandwidth Wi-Fi designed for texting and emails. You couldn't really watch videos, it didn't come through right, way too much buffering. So if you're trying to do any of the more modern things we do now on our devices, you really need their upgraded package, which they have a streaming package, but it's not included in that all-inclusive fare. And then let's talk about the drink package. So MSC has several tiers of drink packages. Now, what's included with that all-inclusive package is one of their middle tiers, so it's not the absolute lowest tier, but it limits a lot of the higher end liquors and any drinks over $10. So they have menus, of course, and basically the bottom of the mixed drink list starts at $10. So there's a good variety of basic cocktails you can get that are included. But if you try to get anything a little bit fancier, a little bit more upgraded, they're going to charge you extra for it. So it's not really all included unless you stick to the basics, beer, wine, and basic cocktails. MSC does have a package that includes anything pretty much at the bar, but that is a bit more of an expensive drink package, which can be purchased separately. But it's important to understand it's not what's included in the all-inclusive fare that they offer with these special deals. And if you're like me and you don't like being hit with upcharges, you're gonna definitely wanna know about this next mistake and how to avoid it. Now, we've been cruising for decades on many cruise lines. Can't say I've done them all, but I've done almost all of them. And compared to MSC, most of them have better prices on their shore excursions. I found that MSC ups the price on their shore excursions by 40 to 60% over, say, a Carnival or a Royal Caribbean offering similar excursions. So keep that in mind. If you book an excursion directly with MSC, you're probably paying a bit more than it's worth, and you most certainly could find a better deal booking it with an independent provider. Now, I know I get comments all the time about people fearful of booking shore excursions with an independent guy because what if they miss the ship? There's no guarantee the ship's not going to wait, and that is true. But if you check in our description below, we have a link to a company, Shore Excursions Group, that actually provides shore excursions at all these ports of call and offers you a very healthy guarantee to get you back to the ship with financial compensation if they don't. But as far as I'm aware, they've never had anybody miss their ship. When it comes to shore excursions, the reputable private companies that do them, that's their business. So they're going to do everything they can to make sure nobody ever misses a ship. One thing I usually do is I buy cruise insurance for my cruises. And it not only covers if you miss your cruise, you have some reason you can't go, and you get your money back, but it also covers you for things like losing your bags or missing the ship at a port of call. And they cover your expenses to get where you need to be, to get back on the ship, or to get back home. MSC has to do something to compensate for those super low prices they're offering, and you want to make sure you have the right expectations for this next item. When I first started cruising, it didn't matter what cruise line I went on, Carnival, Royal Caribbean, NCL, they all had premium cabin service, and they were proud of it. What they would do is come into your room twice a day, make your bed up in the morning, do a turn down service in the evening, and many of those cruise lines are still offering this premium level of service. But you can't expect that on MSC. The cabin service is really no frills. It's once a day. It could be in the morning or could be in the afternoon, early evening. And in some cases, your cabin steward will ask you what you prefer, but it'll also depend on his schedule. So these cabin stewards have more rooms to do than on a competitor's cruise line. So they don't have as much time, and they're not doing them twice a day. And they don't do as many of the extras like towel animals. I might have seen that once. Whereas on a Carnival cruise I was on, it was every day, maybe twice a day. So there is a difference there in that level of service. Now, our rooms were very clean. Everything was fine, no complaints, but just don't expect that same white glove treatment that you might have gotten on a Princess or on a Royal Caribbean or Norwegian line. I also discovered that things like asking for ice in your room tend to get ignored a little bit, so I had to keep asking for it. Finally, I gave the guy a tip, and then I got it every day. And if you're wondering if this spills over into the food quality, stay tuned for the next item. But first, I want to know, if you've never been on an MSC cruise, tell me one thing you've heard about it, good or bad. And if you've been on one, tell me your overall opinion, thumbs up or thumbs down. Put it in the comments below. I've been on several MSC cruises on several different ships. And I've also been on many Royal Caribbean ships. And I find that the food quality is much less consistent from ship to ship on MSC. And I'm not sure why that is. And it may have to do with their rapid expansion into North America, and they're still working out some of the kinks. But you can go on one cruise with them and the food can be absolutely superb, delicious, everything up to par. And then you can go on another one where you notice some nights something's lacking. It's not exactly tasting the freshest or not exactly what you might expect. This happens more often than not in the buffet. Now, breakfast is usually a home run. In fact, they do more things for breakfast than I've ever seen on another cruise line's breakfast buffet. So give them all the credit for that. But lunch and dinner can sometimes be bland. Other times can be excellent. And the pizza on board, which is usually part of the buffet, is the best at sea. So if all else fails, go and get their pizza. They make it fresh, they make the dough on board, you can't beat it. So don't expect as many American comfort foods. Now, contrary to what I've read online, they do have burgers, fries, hot dogs, and things of that nature. They do cater to the American marketplace, but you're gonna find a lot more variety of international and European flavors and less so of American flavors. And it doesn't even come close to what you're gonna find in MSC specialty restaurants. Hands down, MSC specialty restaurants are worth it, especially the seafood restaurant, Ocean Key, or their steakhouse. They are superb, and the presentation and the fresh to order food is unbeatable. And maybe that's the gimmick. They get you on the cruise and then they entice you to spend some extra money for the best culinary experience, but it is worth it. And in fact, their upcharges for specialty restaurants tend to be less than most other cruise lines. So it's cheaper to get in there, and the food is out of this world. And this brings me to one of the packages that they sell. I wish I knew about these before my first MSC cruise, because once I got on board, they were selling specialty dining packages at almost triple the price of what I found later by booking online ahead of time. And it's definitely worth it. You can get a 2 or a 3 night specialty dining package for less than about $30 per person per meal. And that is a great deal. If you eat at these specialty restaurants 2 or 3 nights, it's gonna make your cruise. And you don't have to do it. The other food is usually good. I mean, I never really had a problem with it, but I know some people do, and I do hear a lot of complaints. But I've never heard a complaint about their specialty restaurants, and I think that's where their focus is, and they're looking to upsell people into those venues. And this next thing I wish I knew before trying to take a late night dip in one of the hot tubs. MSC's hot tubs are not hot. In fact, they're warm at best, and some of them are downright cool. Some people call these hot tubs cold plunge tubs on MSC, but they're not really that bad. You can get into the water. It's not a shock to the system. It's not cold. It's something you want to adjust your expectations for, and you'll be fine. You'll have a great time. In fact, they have 2 amazing hot tubs on most of their North American ships. On either side of the ship on deck 8, which are kind of like infinity style hot tubs where you're just looking off the edge into the ocean with all these bubbles coming up from the seats. It's kind of like maybe like a spa pool almost. It's really nice, but they're different. They're of a different style than most major cruise lines hot tubs. Just keep that in mind. Another cruiser on this ship told me that this next item ruined his whole week. I'm getting to that next, but make sure you subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Get all of our cruising updates. We've been to many of the cruise ship private islands in the Bahamas. It is the thing lately. Everybody's got one. You've got Carnival's Island, you've got Royal Caribbean, NCL. Great Stirrup Cay is actually one of my favorites, but the expectations have to be different with MSC's Ocean Cay. And here's the reason why. MSC doesn't do it like the other cruise lines. So the other cruise lines, you go to their private islands and they basically build mega water parks there, tons of activities, private beaches for adults only, a lot of things to upsell you. For some reason, MSC isn't on board with that. So their private island is a very nice island, wonderfully designed, built kind of out of a dump. Basically, they took a wasteland island and built it into a paradise. And it is beautiful, but it's really just about being on an island on a private beach where your cruise ship or maybe 2 cruise ships are the only people there. And they do have great facilities, bathrooms, showers. They have a food facility, which is included. You don't pay extra for that. They have bars, which your drink package covers if you bought or have a drink package. They even have a private area for their yacht club. But they don't have water slides. They don't have all of these attractions. They offer some excursions like jet skis and things of that nature. They rent snorkel gear and other things, but it's much more subdued. Probably really good for adults because you can just kind of relax, find a chair. There's plenty of chairs. Find a shady spot to just enjoy the day on the beach. But if you're looking for water parks, if you're looking for all of these extra activities, it's just not there. But if you're a walker or a runner or a jogger, MSC's Island is the best because they have a 2-mile around the island pathway that you can do a jog, a walk, a run, and it's a great way to just enjoy the sea and the ocean and basically just run around the island. As far as I'm aware, none of the other private islands have anything like that. For the incredibly low prices that they're offering for a cruise vacation, the value of MSC is definitely worth it in my opinion. And if you have the right expectations, you will have a great time. But there is a part of MSC ships that is a distinguished first class. I'll tell you all about that right here.